Canadian Bulldog from Wrestling Merchandise and Memories. What do we think of the horror voice? Should I lose it, or what do you think? This week, we're looking at the top 50 Halloween horrors, and unlike some of the previous top 50 lists, this is all personal preference. So I'm looking at wrestling's larger-than-life monsters, freaks, and horrors, people with great costumes and masks and face paint, as well as the type of people you just generally wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. And if you disagree with any of the picks we presented here, or perhaps we're just missing a few, please leave your comments below and let us know who you think should have been on our list of Halloween Horrors. Too much? Just before we get started, wanted to remind you that Wrestling Merchandise and Memories has more than 100 unique and conversation-starting top 50 lists on its site. Check it out at bit.ly/top 50 lists. Number 50, Damien Demento hailed from the outer reaches of your mind and was known for his unique nightmarish look. Clad in black garb and wearing a pointy black beard, Demento intimidated his opponents and main evented the first Monday Night Raw. Number 49, the Moondogs, originally comprised of Moondogs Rex and King, and eventually adding Spot and others to the group, looked prehistoric with shaggy blonde beards, cut-off jeans, and always brandishing huge soup bones as weapons. The team reinforced their fearsome look by having wild brawls. Number 48, Mordecai was a quasi-religious character in WWE, wearing a white robe, white hair, and goatee, and carrying a thorny staff to the ring, threatening to use it on his opponents. Unfortunately, he was only around for a short while. Number 47, Kevin Thorne was the reincarnation of Mordecai. Well, technically it was the same wrestler playing a different gimmick. He was a vampire who debuted during WWE's ECW relaunch in 2006. Accompanied to the ring by fellow vampire Ariel, Thorne made short work of his early ECW opponents. Number 46, Black Rain was in many ways the antithesis of Goldust, the same man behind the costume. Clad in black spandex with black and silver face paint and clutching his pet rat, Black Rain frightened fans and opponents alike during his brief run in TNA. Number 45, Awesome Kong was also known as Karma in WWE, and even the Welfare Queen character from Glow, and was one of the most intimidating female wrestlers to come along in years. Large, destructive, and the female Vader in many ways, she had several wrestlers running away from her in fear. Number 44, El Messias, also known as Judas Messias, Mil Muertes, and Ricky Banderas, is a demon-type character who has competed in the likes of TNA, Wrestling Society X, Lucha Underground, and currently is in AAA. Number 43, Danhausen is a comedic cult favorite among many wrestling fans. Complete with spooky black, white, and red face paint and tattoos all over his body, Danhausen has competed in Ring of Honor and All Elite Wrestling, known for his very nice, very evil persona, which includes putting curses on his foes. Number 42, look, how could we not include someone with the name Halloween on this list? A favorite in Mexico, he had frightening orange and black makeup adorning his face, and then later, when he wrestled in Mexico as Ciclope, Halloween wore a mask with one eye in the center of it, which is only slightly less creepy. Number 41, Nails came to the WWF in the early 1990s as a prisoner that had his release and was getting revenge after years of alleged punishment from ex-prison guard, the Big Boss Man. Decked out in an orange prison jumpsuit with a constant scowl and a distorted voice that sounded like, "I'll get you, boss man." Nails could have easily been the lead heel in a slasher flick. Number 40, Sting. No, not the version with the spiky blonde hair and surfer face paint, but the version that debuted in the late 1990s to combat the NWO, between his jet black hair, trench coat, and black and white face paint, this version of the man called Sting just had an eerie presence. Number 39, the Black Scorpion, claimed to be a mysterious figure from Sting's past who spent the second half of 1990 stalking the Stinger and playing mind games. His distorted voice sounded like, "I'll get you, boss man." Sorry, wrong guy. But it added even more horror to the package. Number 38, Abaddon joined AEW in June of 2020 after spending time on the independent scene. With different shades of wildly colored hair and zombie-like features on her face, she reigned havoc in AEW and Ring of Honor until leaving the promotions in May of 2025. Number 37, the Dark Order are a cult-like faction that have been part of AEW since the company's inception. Disciples over the years have included Mr. Brody Lee, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Anna Jay, Alex Reynolds, and Colt Cabana. Number 36, the Kiss Demon was dreamed up in the late 1990s through a partnership between WCW and Kiss. The demon dressed like Gene Simmons with the famous demon face paint, blood spewing from his mouth, and platform boots. Number 35, WWE Hall of Famer Luna Vachon was one of the most intimidating female grapplers of her or any era. Wearing half a shaved head, chains, and face paint on half of her face, Vachon spoke in a growl that sounded like, "I'll get you, boss man." Okay, fine, I'm retiring that joke for good. Number 34, Bruiser Brody frightened opponents throughout the 70s and 80s in promotions across the world. His caveman-like appearance and 6'8" stature had opponents running away in fear that Brody would get his hands on them. Number 33, Jason the Terrible was the alter ego of ring veteran Carl Moffat, who decided he needed to do something in the 1980s to shake up his character. Wearing a hockey mask, white jumpsuit, and wielding a chainsaw, Jason was a monster come to life in Stampede Wrestling. Number 32, Seven was another character of Dustin Rhodes, who's preparing to debut as a creepy, Dark City-esque character upon returning to WCW in the late 1990s. However, this ultra creepy gimmick was killed by Turner Broadcasting before he even had the chance to compete. Number 31, the Sinister Minister, also known as Father James Mitchell, was one of the scariest individuals in the original ECW. Between his red suits, long fingernails, and Satan-esque goatee, Mitchell was as much an agent of the devil as anyone you'd ever seen in movies or on television. Number 30, Darby Allin looks as though he's part zombie and part punk rock tribute band. With fearsome face paint splashed across half of his head, Allin has gained fame for his death-defying stunts and fearsome coffin drop finisher. Number 29, Finn Balor borrowed his name from Gaelic mythology, something that roughly translates into Deadly Warrior. The Demon King, as he's sometimes referred to in WWE, wears Venom-style war paint to the ring, but only when he's provoked and angry enough. Number 28, Lars Sullivan, remember him, had a shaved head, satanic-looking beard, crazed eyes, and monstrous frame. He debuted in NXT in 2017, and while his main roster time was cut very short, he was known for vanquishing smaller opponents. Number 27, Kevin Sullivan, no relation to the aforementioned Lars, started his wrestling career off as a bodybuilder type, but somewhere along the way his entire look changed as he began worshipping the devil. For the next quarter century or so, the Taskmaster recruited a variety of henchmen and factions to help carry out his evil bidding. Number 26, Braun Strowman was one of the most feared men in WWE during his run. The monster among men not only is massive and has a burly backwoods look to him, but he was also capable of taking tremendous punishment. Number 25, Doink the Clown, when he was originally introduced, was inspired by Stephen King's Pennywise character and was as scary as anything on television. Behind the grease paint, Matt Bourne created one of the most nuanced heels in wrestling. Number 24, the Dungeon of Doom was a creature feature type stable introduced by Kevin Sullivan in 1995. The faction included the Yeti, the Shark, Kamala, the Zodiac, Ming, and half a dozen others. Number 23, Vampiro was less a traditional vampire and more a cross between a goth villain and juggalo. Vampiro terrorized rings in Mexico before joining WCW, sporting dreadlocks, tons of tattoos, and pancake white zombie makeup. Number 22, WWE Hall of Famer Sensational Sherri became a manager following a career as an accomplished women's wrestler. She was quickly known as Scary Sherri, painting her face and cackling like a witch. Number 21 is the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get ya! What can be possibly scarier than a character that emanates from people's nightmares? While his persona quickly went the comedy route, the Boogeyman's penchant for eating live worms and smashing clocks over his head makes him a true Halloween horror. Number 20, the Missing Link's character was an anomaly even for a list like this one. The Missing Link painted his face green and black and only had patches of hair on his head. He appeared lost at all times like some sort of Cro-Magnon man. Number 19, WWE Hall of Famer Paul Bearer had an eerie aura about him with ghost white face makeup, plastered on hair, wearing a suit and high-pitched voice. You always felt that Paul Bearer would be at home hosting his own late-night horror movie show. Oh, yes! Number 18, Demolition may have been labeled as Road Warrior ripoffs earlier in their career, but they turned out to be almost as intimidating as their predecessors. Axe, Smash, and Crush came to the ring not only with face paint, but also black studded vests and matching hoods, making for a scary impression. Number 17, The Sheik, not to be confused with the Iron Sheik, was a staple of the Detroit area in the 60s and 70s, always sporting a scarred forehead and eyes that bulged out of his head. The Sheik made his name by drawing blood from opponents through fireballs, pencils, and a variety of other foreign objects. Number 16, Leatherface, much like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre character that he emulated, had a mask that was made out of human skin, as well as wearing ratty clothes to the ring. While in Japan's FMW, he grunted and screamed before matches. And here's a fun fact, Leatherface was once played by WWF's Corporal Kirshner. Number 15, the Wyatt Six was a faction that was created in 2024 as a tribute to the late Bray Wyatt, with nods of different aspects to Wyatt's creative inspiration over the years. The group consists of Uncle Howdy, Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, and Nikki Cross. Number 14, Gangrel, also known as the Vampire Warrior, was so dedicated to his vampire look that he shaved two of his teeth to look like fangs. Along with the Brood, Gangrel was an early staple of the Attitude Era, rising up to the stage through a ring of fire, spitting out blood, and covering opponents in his dreaded bloodbath. Number 13, Big Van Veda routinely tried to maim his rivals and wore an elephant-like headdress to the ring that seemingly spat out steam on command. Vader was one of WCW's most dominant champions and monsters. Number 12, WWE Hall of Famer Andre the Giant legitimately scared many of his opponents. At 7'4" and 525 pounds, the eighth wonder of the world was the complete package of what a giant should look like. And once he turned heel in 1987, Andre became even more frightening. Number 11, Brock Lesnar doesn't necessarily share many of the otherworldly qualities of many on this list, but he is a scary beast, or beast incarnate. Large, fearless, and intimidating, Lesnar is the type of guy you'd avoid running into in a dark alley. Number 10, WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts is certainly cold-blooded enough to earn a big spot on this list. What he may have lacked in size was offset by his likelihood to drape pythons all over his unconscious opponent after a match, as was his evil smirk and attitude. Number 9, Mankind was the most frightening of WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley's many personalities. Borrowing from Hannibal Lecter with a face mask and glove to cover his severed fingers, Mankind allegedly felt no pain, which he often used to win matches. Number 8. WWE Hall of Famers The Road Warriors were the originators of the Mad Max post-apocalyptic look. When Hawk and Animal debuted in the early 1980s, no one even looked competitive next to them because of their frightening personas. Number 7. Kamala had many fans believing that he was a legitimate Ugandan cannibal, trying to devour opponents such as Jerry the King Lawler and Andre the Giant while wearing tribal war paint and brandishing a spear. Kamala was one of the only wrestlers so terrifying he actually needed to have someone control him. Number 6. WWE Hall of Famer Papa Shango was an evil voodoo priest wearing white skeleton face paint, a top hat, skull jewelry, and black fingernails. His powers of voodoo set some opponents on fire and even forced the Ultimate Warrior to throw up. Number 5. Abyss was one of the top competitors in TNA for over a decade. Huge compared to many of his opponents and often wearing a face mask while clutching his barbed wire board Janus and holding his trusty bag of thumbtacks. Number 4. WWE Hall of Famer Kane has been everything from a Frankenstein-esque villain willing to do Paul Bearer's bidding to a ruthless psychopath who has set opponents on fire and chokeslammed them to hell. Kane is such a scary monster, in fact, that he starred in the WWE Studios horror film See No Evil. Number 3. WWE Hall of Famer Abdullah the Butcher's head looks like a roadmap due to deep scar tissue all over his bald skull that occurred from blading. The Butcher based his entire career on using forks and other weapons to bleed him and his opponents dry. Number 2. The Fiend was the 2019 transition of Bray Wyatt, adding an additional edge to the Eater of the Worlds, making him one of the finest masters of psychological warfare in WWE history. And then number 1 Halloween horror. Where else could WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker be on a list of Halloween horrors but number 1? The dead man has become wrestling's Grim Reaper, resurrecting his soul on many different occasions and putting fear in the hearts of opponents for more than 30 years. Between his unique look, supernatural powers, and fondness for burying his opponents, The Undertaker is truly the terror you wouldn't want to face, dead or alive. So, what did you think? Which ones did we miss? Which ones did we misplace? Leave us a comment below and be sure to subscribe for much more great content to Merchandise and Memories.